Stop scrolling. Are you ready to admit which martial art reigns supreme in a genuine confrontation? This is not about tradition, it is about survival. We are cutting through the theory and showing you, blow by blow, who we predict will emerge victoriously in a real-world Aikido versus BJJ fight in 2025. You might be surprised by the outcome. Opening with real-world statistics on common street altercations and how they typically unfold, referencing recent incidents. Briefly touch on the observable cross-pollination of techniques across various martial arts disciplines in modern fight gyms based on expert interviews. Set the stage for a hypothetical but grounded confrontation, emphasizing unpredictability observed in actual self-defense scenarios documented on security footage. For decades, a common critique leveled against Aikido has been its perceived lack of realism, often stemming from its cooperative training methods and absence of competitive sparring. However, a significant evolution is underway. A growing number of progressive dojos are challenging this stereotype head-on by integrating modern training methodologies. They are exploring how to apply Aikido's principles against a non-compliant opponent, incorporating live, unscripted resistance drills and even groundwork. We see practitioners donning protective gear, engaging in scenario-based training, and defending against simulated strikes. This pragmatic approach, championed by various reformist movements, aims to pressure test the art's techniques under duress, ensuring Aikido remains a viable and effective form of self-defense in the 21st century. But what about the techniques themselves? When removed from the dojo, do they hold up? While you may not see an Aikido master in a cage fight, that misses the point of its primary application. The art's true value often shines in specific, real-world scenarios against an untrained or less experienced aggressor. Take, for example, the joint locks, or kansetsu waza. Techniques like kotegaeshi, the wrist turnout, are designed to exploit the natural weaknesses of human anatomy. They don't rely on brute strength, but on precise leverage and timing. Law enforcement and security professionals have often cited these principles as effective for control and restraint. When the goal is to subdue an individual without causing excessive injury, an Aikido-based lock can be an invaluable tool. Documented instances and expert testimonials frequently highlight how a well-applied pin can neutralize a threat quickly, proving that in the right context, these centuries-old techniques are profoundly practical. Beyond the physical techniques, Aikido's most unique contribution to martial arts may be its profound emphasis on blending and deflecting energy. This is the core principle of aways, harmonizing with an opponent's force rather than meeting it head-on. Where other arts might teach a hard block to stop an attack, Aikido teaches you to move with it, to enter and pivot, irimi tenkan, redirecting the attacker's momentum so it becomes their own undoing. This isn't passive, it's a sophisticated strategy for taking control of the conflict's dynamic. This philosophy extends beyond the physical, drawing parallels to real-world confrontations where avoiding conflict was key. The goal is to de-escalate. By refusing to meet aggression with aggression, a practitioner can disrupt an attacker's expectations, creating a psychological pause where resolution is possible. In many situations, the best victory is the fight that never happens. Aikido's unique focus on blending provides a powerful framework for achieving exactly that. When Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu exploded onto the global stage with the first Ultimate Fighting Championship, it was a paradigm shift. The world watched as the slender Royce Gracie systematically dismantled larger opponents from every discipline. This wasn't a fluke, it was a revelation. BJJ proved a fundamental truth. The vast majority of real fights inevitably end up on the ground. Here, BJJ reigns supreme. Its philosophy is built on leverage, timing, and positional control, allowing a smaller individual to neutralize a significant strength disadvantage. We've seen it time and again in MMA. The fight hits the mat, and the BJJ specialist becomes the shark in the water, methodically advancing position, isolating a limb or the neck, and securing a fight-ending submission. In self-defense, this translates to controlling an aggressor without throwing a single punch, minimizing harm to both parties. However, no art is without its critics, and a common knock against BJJ was its perceived weakness in the stand-up game. Critics argued that a pure BJJ practitioner would be vulnerable to a skilled striker before the fight ever hit the ground. This was a valid point. as traditional sport Jiu-Jitsu often neglects striking defense. But martial arts evolve. The modern BJJ practitioner, especially one training for self-defense or MMA, is a different breed. They understand that grappling is just one piece of the puzzle. We see this evolution in legendary fighters like Georges St-Pierre, a BJJ black belt who developed one of the most effective jabs in MMA history, using his grappling prowess as a constant threat that opened up his striking. The art has adapted, with many schools now incorporating wrestling and striking defense into their core curriculum. But what about the street? This is where BJJ's greatest strength can become its most significant liability. Taking a fight to the ground is a singular commitment. In a one-on-one duel, it's a winning strategy. But the street is unpredictable. There are no rules, no referees, and crucially, no guarantee you're only facing one person. As self-defense experts caution, the moment you engage an opponent on the ground, you become dangerously vulnerable to their friends. Countless security videos have shown a grappler dominating an attacker only to be kicked by a second assailant. Furthermore, the environment itself is a weapon. Concrete is unforgiving. The primary goal in self-defense is escape. While BJJ provides incredible tools to control an attacker and create that opportunity, a wise practitioner knows that prolonged ground engagement in an uncontrolled environment is a risk that is rarely worth taking. Let's stage a hypothetical showdown. In one corner, a seasoned Aikidoka trained to blend with motion and redirect force into joint locks and throws. In the other, a BJJ practitioner, a master of leverage whose strategy is built around closing distance and taking the fight to the mat. The encounter begins with a tense chess match of distance management. The Aikidoka maintains a poised, upright stance, hands ready to intercept an attack, aiming to keep the fight standing. Conversely, the BJJ fighter adopts a lower, athletic stance, probing for an opening to shoot in for a takedown or establish a clinch. This is the first critical phase, a battle of conflicting objectives. The Aikidoka wants to use the BJJ practitioner's aggression against them, while the BJJ practitioner seeks to nullify the Aikidoka's entire game by eliminating space. We'll break this down scenario by scenario, drawing from real-world encounters to see how this clash of philosophies plays out. At standing range, the Aikidoka's arsenal is potent. Techniques like Irimi Nagi or Kotegaeshi are designed to off-balance an aggressive opponent. If the BJJ practitioner lunges, the Aikidoka aims to blend with that momentum, turning a takedown attempt into a throw. But the BJJ practitioner is no stranger to this. They'll use feints and level changes, making it difficult to time a redirection. If the distance closes to a clinch, the dynamic shifts dramatically. Here, the BJJ practitioner excels, using grips and body locks to control the Aikidoka's posture and hips, neutralizing their ability to turn and throw. The Aikidoka will fight to maintain their structure, but they are now in a world of immense pressure. Should the BJJ practitioner succeed in securing a takedown, the fight enters its final, and for the Aikidoka, most dangerous phase, the ground. On the mat, BJJ's systematic approach to control is overwhelming. The Aikidoka, lacking a sophisticated ground fighting curriculum, will struggle to escape dominant positions like side control or the mount. From here, the BJJ practitioner can patiently apply a fight-ending submission, leveraging mechanics over strength. So, what is the most likely outcome? While a perfectly timed Aiki throw could certainly end the fight, real-world application and empirical data from decades of mixed martial arts competition point toward a clear statistical favorite. The BJJ practitioner's strategy is proactive and has a higher margin for error. They only need one successful takedown to move the fight into their domain. The Aikidoka, on the other hand, must perfectly defend against every attempt. The historical record shows that fights overwhelmingly tend to go to the clinch and then to the ground. In that environment, the specialist holds a staggering advantage. Therefore, projecting the outcome based on probability, the BJJ practitioner is far more likely to control the engagement, secure a dominant position, and end the confrontation with a submission. Conclude that who wins is not about the art itself, but the individual practitioner's dedication, athleticism, and observed ability to adapt in real-world situations. Emphasize the growing trend of martial artists cross-training and incorporating elements from multiple disciplines, citing examples of successful hybrid martial artists. Final thoughts on the goal of martial arts: self-defense, discipline, and personal growth regardless of style, evidenced by the positive impacts on practitioners' lives. To support the channel and help us create more content like this, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. To receive notifications about future content, select the post notification bell. If you want to stay with me, choose a video on your screen and we will see you there. Thank you.